găsit, doamnelor, domnilor, sunt Marius Constantinescu. Începe Ediție limitată. Astăzi o emisiune cu un artist liric, a cărui poveste se confundă cu însăși istoria unei perioade în care fenomenul segregației se retrage treptat de pe scena de operă și cea de concert. Sir Willard White.
Tu personnes humaines, une postérité, et tu figes en caste une femme féconde. Sache donc le destin de ce fils, engendré malgré les dieux du monde. Il sera l'assassin de son père. Et pour multiplier sa race meurtrière, il scella l'époux de sa mère, le frère de ses filles, le père de ses frères.
Sir Willard, thank you so much for accepting this interview for the Romanian National Television. It's an honor to have you as our guest.
Well, the honor is mine. Thank you.
And I'm going to start by making a confession. Every time I have to prepare an interview with a musician, I try to immerse myself into the music, the art of that particular musician. And I was listening today to some of your recordings. And I have to tell you, I got really stuck in the Old Man River moment.
Oh.
And I was thinking about this question to begin our interview with. Do you ever sit down and think about the impact that your voice and your music and your artistry has on regular people?
No, it's very difficult to do that. I don't know, first of all, where my voice comes from, and I've heard people say that your voice has an impact on me, but I don't know if I worry about what that means and what I should do in order to have an impact. I'm going to be wrapped up in myself.
Yes.
And not knowing what to do next. So my most important effort is just to be as natural as I dare to be. Actually, today someone was asking me about something like that. And I said, people sometimes say that I give them so much. And I said that actually, I'm very glad to hear that, but I don't actually give. I choose to be. I am. And when I'm more comfortable with myself, as I encourage others to be as comfortable with themselves as possible and speak from your heart, that is actually a very important exchange, and the person can feel like they've received a gift. So if I should put the pressure on what can I give this person, how should I phrase this sentence in order to make an impression, I become false. So I avoid that as best I can.
Oh, I get weary and sick of trying. I'm tired of living, but I'm scared of dying. That old man river, he just keeps rolling along. New things come and old things go, but all things look the same to Joe. Folks get mad and starts a war, and then gets glad, don't know what for. I keeps laughing instead of crying. I must keep living until I'm dying. But on that river, it just keeps rolling.
I think I have an answer, but it's not mine, unfortunately. It was Maria Callas who just told you, sing out your voice. That's all you have to do. Yeah.
Yes, actually I remember her saying something, just let it out.
Yes,
exactly. Let
exactly.
it out.
Preparing fiesco.
Yeah, that's right.
How did classical music or opera enter your life?
Well, it was hovering in the background for, on Sunday afternoons in Jamaica, there would be a classical music program. Mm-hmm. But I never found myself sort of drawn to classical music because the beats were a little bit sort of stretched out, and I was used to a more rhythmical life. But because of the nature of my voice and because of my experience in high school, and my first aria that I was offered to learn, because my music teacher heard me with what she thought was a very strong baritone voice, she gave me Valentine's aria from Faust, Gounod's Faust. Which I did learn and sang. It was a bit of a strain, but exactly. And I sang that, but later on I discovered that I could get the same verve, the same vital energy from singing in classical music, and sometimes even more, because with pop music, it's the story that is being told, but in classical music it's not only the story, it's the energy that you use to execute a long phrase, and the breath, and using the body in a totally different way. And I found with the timbre of my voice, classical music would be more suitable for my voice, since I love singing, than to be the background accompaniment to some popular group. Because that's what my bass voice would be used for in that time when I was growing up.
And your musical journey took you to New York, where you have studied with Giorgio Tozzi.
I studied with Giorgio Tozzi, I studied with Kipnis, and so on.
And you have met Maria Callas there.
And I met Maria
for
Callas.
A Juilliard masterclass.
That's correct.
How was that?
In other words, also pronounce a ti estremo addio, faraggia altero, freddo sepolcro, ridoggio io. You have a lovely sound. You should vibrate it more. Understand? I don't know. It's too slow also, the whole attitude. More authoritative and warm the sound up. Even if you have a slimy throat, singing it will go away.
That was quite a powerful experience. I found her most intimidating. I found her charming. She was beautiful. She had all the elegance that one would dream of a princess or a queen to have. And to be in the presence of someone like that, giving me her attention, was quite intimidating. And she liked what I was doing, I felt, and she wanted me to execute certain things. At the time, I felt I couldn't do all of them. But significantly, something that she told me in the class, that when I finish a phrase, to finish it with such clarity and definition that you allow the space after the phrase to be alive, and the conductor will be willing to wait for you. And then you would be able to tell your story following that line with clarity at each delivery and at the start of each phrase, making your statement. And I did that. I used that in an audition about a few months after the classes. And the intendant, it was in the San Francisco Opera, and the intendant said to me afterwards, you know, those spaces that you made after each phrase, or in the recitative anyway, they were so powerful and strong. very good. I didn't tell him that I got the idea from Maria Callas at the time.
Yours has been one of the most remarkable careers in the last 3 or 4 decades, let's say. Would you say that things happen for you in the right time and the right place?
It's very hard to say that because I've never been in the wrong place, I don't think. I don't know. I think in this journey of life, one creates one's circumstances by the choice that you make, whether you feel inhibited in a moment or you feel in a moment to wander, it creates an opening. I mean, I know I went to the Juilliard as a dare to myself to find out, why have I got this voice? What should I do with this love of singing? Even though there was the atmosphere that the black man has no place in opera, and I decided to ignore that.
Was it that back then?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And there's still traces of it, but you know, not to dwell on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I had to find me. And I'm still in the process of finding me.
Because there were already pioneers like Marian Anderson and Leontyne Price and Grace Bunbury, Jesse Norman, Shirley Verrett. You have started along with Leona Mitchell. So things were changing.
Things were changing, but now you mentioned those names,
yes,
and they're all
mostly
women.
ladies, yes.
Exactly.
I can think of George Shirley as a male counterpart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was there has been the seemingly threat of the black male. For whatever reason, and the fear of people seeing some people have said to me, because I'm a bass baritone, it's fortunate because I'm not in a romantic situation very often on stage, and some people can't, at the time, couldn't take that juxtapositioning of the black and white mixture. But despite all of that, I decided that there's one thing that is very important for me to serve, and is to produce the best quality of my singing that I can. And anyone who ignores that, well then, fine. It might open doors. And so things happening at the right time and so on. I could have stayed in Jamaica and not do anything. What would that mean? So it was my choice to go, my choice to explore, my choice even. I didn't do sufficient research to find out how much money I would need to get a loan. And I did my audition, and I was congratulated after a few days by the registrar to say that, congratulations, you've won the 2nd largest scholarship this year. It was a big shock because I had to pay all the money before the term started, and I didn't have it. But good fortune, whatever it is, came to my path. But I couldn't have done that without doing a very good audition. It would be silly. And so, I heard an interview once, and the musician was being told that how lucky he was to be doing what he has done, and to be on this journey, to be on a tour all over the United States. And the gentleman replied, he was a black jazz musician, and he said, you know, the harder I work, the luckier I become. And I think there's a great truth in that hard work does produce results. If you don't work hard at whatever you love, whatever you're interested in, nobody will notice it and nobody will give you an opportunity, or you won't create the opportunity for yourself to somebody to say, oh, you do that quite well. Why don't you come and explore this with us? So it's a two-way situation, I think.
Tirez iasă în monumentalul concert cu Edip de George Enescu, care a deschis ediția 2017 a Festivalului Internațional George Enescu. Sir Willard White este și astăzi, la 76 de ani, un artist cameleonic, hotărât să-și pună în valoare toate darurile intelectuale în cât mai multe roluri și modalități. S-a născut la Kingston, în Jamaica, a studiat la New York, la Juilliard School, a avut șansa unei întâlniri memorabile cu Maria Callas, iar în 1976 a debutat în Europa, la English National Opera din Londra, în încoronarea Popeei de Claudio Monteverdi. De atunci a cântat peste tot, la Metropolitan, la Covent Garden, la Opera din Paris, la festivalurile de la Salzburg, Verbier sau Aix-en-Provence. You have a very, very wide repertoire. Was it also a choice that you have taken, you have made to explore all these extremes of the repertoire, because you go from the Baroque up to the contemporary?
It was a choice. I had colleagues when I was studying who said, well, I will focus on this style of music or this style of music. And I thought I needed to embrace as much as I can, and I will do that. Because if I were to just do what I thought I would be given work for, I'd maybe just study Porgy and Bess.
Yes.
So I decided to sing as well as I can each thing, and so I was invited to do a variety of work. And some people say, how can you do that? Well, there is a choice to learn. I have accepted enormous challenges, and the challenges only come and become present because you're there and you're willing to go on. If you don't want to embrace it, it's not a challenge, or it's a type of challenge that you turn away from. I have stood there.
Is Enescu's Edip another challenge?
Yes, it is. I hadn't met this piece before.
Yeah.
Actually, many years ago, I was asked to do the Edip, but I thought it was just too...
The title role.
The title role,
yeah.
Yes. But I was a young man at the time, and I didn't have the technique that I thought it required to fulfill the vocal demands, and so I turned it down. And only to find that many years later, I've been asked to do this particular part, Tiresias, and it is a challenge. But I find all of music a challenge for me, once more, to discover parts of myself.
Tiresias, très cher, très grand, très bon. Toi, dont Apollon fit l'esprit subtil, tu sais qui nous cherchons, tu sais pourquoi nous le cherchons. Comme son nom sauve la ville. Hélas, qu'il est dur de savoir lorsque savoir est inutile. Laissez-moi repartir au roi. Moi, tu refuses de parler. Elles parleront les choses qui seront. Et les choses malheureux au Jupiter verra naître pour eux. Déchiffre-la, tu es de singe. Châtier, Apollo suffira. Eh ben, avez-vous comme moi deviné le devin, le nom qu'il cache? C'est le sien, saisissez cet homme, il est l'assassin. Eh bien, je te dis, sors de la cité, obéis au décret par toi-même édicté. Quoi? N'êtes pas compris? Faut-il répéter? C'est coupable que tu saches. C'est meurtrier de la lutte. C'est toi. Et c'était les liens souffrants qui parlent quand ils parlent.
To characterize you solely vocally would be so limitative because you're also a man of stage, a true actor. Is this theatrical approach equally appealing to you?
It is, because I get the opportunity to explore once more who I am from a different base, from a different source of performing. I enjoy the fact of doing Tiresias. I've enjoyed doing the plays I did in high school, and I enjoyed the enormous challenge that I had doing Othello.
I was going to that.
You know, which was it was like climbing a mountain. But if the mountain is there and you want to get to the summit to see what is beyond, you have to prepare yourself and face that challenge. And so I undertook to do that challenge because I feel that any man can interpret any role. And because any man can be in any situation, and all the roles are like creating life situations. And each man has an experience or has dreamt of or has read about certain experiences. And so you become a representation of that moment through the way you understand it. And so in each situation of drama, whether it's on the stage, or the operatic stage, or on the live theater stage, spoken word, I find that it is so important to reflect that aspect of myself that I relate to according to the text.
I have to tell you, I have no other example of an opera singer to act with Royal Shakespeare Company in a spoken Othello, obviously. You did it along Sir Ian McKellen, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
And I was going to ask you, since apparently the experience was really, really important for you and somehow defining for your artistic personality, was the temptation to do it again and again and repeat this kind of experience part of your choices as well?
Well, there was a temptation. When I was finished with it, I had a few offers to do some other plays and some little television stuff, but I felt that singing meant much more to me, using my voice and my body in that way. And the unpredictability of the acting jobs because so many actors would be waiting like weeks upon weeks and not knowing if they will ever have another job. In the singing situation, when I did the Othello, for example, I cancelled a few productions. And when I was finished with it, I had productions waiting to execute. So that was a sort of security. But my love for singing was very important. And I recognize, for example, there were some nights when I'm doing Othello when I was very tired, but one could still do a very credible performance with hardly any voice.
Yes.
And you cannot do that. You can't do it. And so there's an importance to keep an energy flow in my life that I think is important for me. Then I had to squeeze my body. It's just my perception of how it could have gone. So I chose to sing it because my first love was singing. Mm-hmm. Acting was there too, but I act through and with singing.
I've done the state some service, and they know it. No more of that. I pray in your letters, when you shall these unlucky deeds relate, speak of them as they are. Nothing extenuate, nor set down aught in malice. Then you must speak of one who loved not wisely, but too well.
Sir Willard White este un exemplu de versatilitate artistică. A înnobilat cu vocea sa coloana sonoră a filmului Amadeus de Miloš Forman, iar în 2019, la Portsmouth, în fața reginei Elisabeta a II-a Marii Britanii și a președintelui Franței, Emmanuel Macron, a cântat Le Chant des Partisans, ca parte a aniversării celor 75 de ani de la debarcarea în Normandia. Poate că actul de maxim curaj în cariera sa a fost în 1989, când a dat curs propunerii venite din partea Royal Shakespeare Company de a-și asuma rolul vorbit al lui Othello într-o serie de spectacole alături de Imogen Stubbs și Sir Ian McKellen. I don't know if you're going to like the word I'm going to use.
Okay.
It is chameleonism. I would say it somehow characterizes you. And I was going to ask you, was that perpetual change, perpetual quest for new experiences, new stage and musical experiences, a consequence or a goal in itself?
A consequence or a goal. It's my life, my attitude in life to discover. I used to think that I knew things and it should be so, and I was a rigid person, and it affected my singing. And the more I could...
One would never guess that.
Well, yeah, a tightness in my singing was there at a certain period of my life. And it was when I noticed that I stopped being judgmental, for example, or saying what should be done, how a certain person should behave, not could, but should. When I released, I said, I don't know, it is their right. If I have the right to behave in a certain way as I feel, if they have dignity in themselves, they will behave in whatever way is a dignified experience. And so it is important for me to have a certain dignity, which is a level of truthfulness with myself. And so when I discovered being truthful with myself more and more, I found a release in my expression with singing, and I felt my voice grew, and I felt that each moment is a discovery of my voice.
Do you still discover it now?
I do.
Yeah.
Every day I have to reappraise. I don't have to. For me, it's important to keep it alive. Because if I feel that I know how to do it and it must come out like that, it's like death. And that is the way I treat my life experience. That if I have a resonance, if I have a relationship with any situation, it's time to wonder, oh, what is that? How does that feel in relation to me? It doesn't feel so good, so no problem. Follow what I feel. That's interesting. I wonder, and then you go further and further, and that's the process of discovery. And my voice is actually a very base of my philosophy, because I cannot make it. When I try to force it, it will hurt. And it's when I make a singing sound, I cannot correct it. It's gone. It's like a real living experience. And so with respect, honor, and love, and then allow, I have my experience of singing. So it's always changing, and I'm always learning from it.
Wherever you go, my heart will go too. What can I do? It only wants to be close to you. Wherever you go, my heart will go too. What can I do? It only wants to be close to you.
It seems to me you're always on the road and somehow eloping your target.
Eloping?
Yes.
I don't know what that...
Keeping it a bit far, never actually reaching the end of the road, but always, yes.
That's interesting you should say that, because Very often people say, hey Willard, how are you? And I say, I'm full of potential. And for me that is really true. There is always a potential to be depressed, or the potential to be really excited, or the potential just to be just there. And so it is a choice to acknowledge my potential. So the road never stops.
Yes, exactly. That's what I meant.
I even take it as far as to say that I don't know what death is. It may be the most wonderful transition a human being can make, because we never know.
Say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows and takes the blows, and did it my way.
Any situation, any one of us can imagine how it will be when we get to the point of the execution. It's totally different. The gift of life, the gift of singing.
You once said in an interview that your first classical recording was Verdi's Requiem with Leontyne Price, Rosalind Elias, Jussi Björling and Giorgio Tozzi. I think it was conducted by Fritz Reiner. If you had to make a choice today of not necessarily a recording, but a voice to accompany you in this road,
goodness.
Could you make that choice? It's also a question of choice.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
It becomes simplified because all the voices that I've heard have inspired me in various ways. And the inspiration of those voices touch me. And it's like I carry one voice of a melding of all those voices. So I wouldn't choose one
Yes.
out of any one. The variety of vibrations and talents, and from Jesse Norman, Nikolai Gyarov, or Ezio Pinza, or so many others, it's the human vibration which one person to choose to emulate that is a limiting of their possibility, their potential. It's to use each one as an inspiration for me.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Doamnelor, domnilor, ediția limitată de astăzi se închide aici. Sunt Marius Constantinescu, trăiți nelimitat!